All right, my friend, if you are heading to Yellowstone National Park, you probably want to see some geysers erupt. And so today I want to talk you through my 5 favorite geysers in Yellowstone and how to see them. My name is Ash. I'm a former park ranger and the founder of Dirt in My Shoes, and you will find me in Yellowstone at least once a year, sometimes more. I just love this national park. It is one of my favorite places to go and explore. And so today I want to talk to you about my favorite geysers and how to see them. So let's get started. Yellowstone is famous for its geologic features and its geothermal hotpots and geysers, mud, boiling mud, all sorts of stuff. And so you'll see a lot of really cool things while you're here. But I do think it's important to note that, it really was the geysers and all the steam and everything that made it so that people wanted to protect this place. It was something that they hadn't seen. It was something that was really unique and kind of a little scary, if you will, to see the earth bubbling and spewing and steaming. And so that's what makes Yellowstone so cool. In my opinion, there's a lot of really great things about Yellowstone, but seeing the geysers is so much fun. What's crazy is that Yellowstone National Park actually contains 60% of the world's geysers. There are nearly 500 geysers in Yellowstone, and that's just a massive amount in this relatively small area in the corner of Wyoming. So it's pretty crazy that you can come here. I'm listing 5 today, but out of 500, there are so many cool things to see. And some surprise sightings that you might have while you're here. We'll talk about that, but there's so many options to see geysers erupt. One thing you'll definitely want to pay attention to as you are seeing these geysers and really just enjoying the view is that it's pretty crazy that this even happens. And so basically, you've got water under the surface and it's getting heated to a point where there's so much pressure that it just can't be contained anymore and it blows out of the earth. So it's pretty cool. But I think what's really neat is just the fact that, you'll see a lot of really hot spots and really cool hot pools, things like that. But these geysers, the reason the water is spewing is because there's just too much pressure and it's got to go somewhere. And so keep that in mind as you're going around the park, especially when we're talking about this first geyser that of course you definitely have to see, which is Old Faithful. Because Old Faithful, it erupts on a pretty reliable schedule, which if you think about it is pretty crazy. Just that we're able to guess within a matter of minutes when this eruption is going to happen. And, the earth does it. It delivers. We get to see this geyser erupt on a very regular schedule. Looking at a map of Yellowstone, let's go down here. This is where Old Faithful is. And Old Faithful is part of the Upper Geyser Basin area of Yellowstone, which is the area of the park that has the most geysers. So actually 4 of the 5 geysers that I think that you should see are located in this Upper Geyser Basin area. There is just so much happening here. The Upper Geyser Basin is about 1 mile squared and it has 150 different geysers. So a lot of people don't realize that yes, you go here to see Old Faithful. You have to see Old Faithful while you're in Yellowstone, but there are 149 other geysers you can see while you're here as well. A lot of people don't take the time to go and see these other geysers, but I definitely think you should. So let's talk about Old Faithful for a minute, but just keep in mind there are a lot of geysers in this area. A lot of them don't erupt on any particular schedule, and so you can just wander around and hope you see some. But Old Faithful really is the star of the show here. What makes Old Faithful so cool is that it literally is the most well-known geyser in the world. It erupts predictably. It erupts often. And so it's just one of those things that in our world where we expect to see things when we want to see them, Old Faithful delivers that. And so you can go to the Old Faithful area. You don't have to wait very long. This geyser erupts basically every 90 minutes. You'll see in the visitor center, they have predictions for when the geyser is going to erupt, and it will give you a time, and then it will say plus or minus another amount of time. So in the case of Old Faithful, it will say, 10:30 a.m. plus or minus 10 minutes. That means it might erupt as early as 10:20 or as late as 10:40. You'll want to add those 10 minutes on either side of the geyser prediction time. So when you get there, check and see when this is supposed to erupt, and then get a seat at the bench if it's almost time, and wait for this beautiful, beautiful geyser. Old Faithful erupts to, on average, about 130 feet, which is quite high. It can go higher than that or lower than that, just depending on how much pressure has built up in that cavern. But plan on a good show that lasts anywhere from about 1.5 minutes to 5 minutes. Typically, it's a pretty long eruption, and so it's just really fun to sit there and watch and get some good pictures and video as well. Okay, for geyser number 2 that you shouldn't miss is Castle Geyser. And Castle Geyser is just a short walk from Old Faithful. It's not very far, but it puts on a really great show. The shape of this geyser is really unique. It looks very majestic. It does look like a castle with water and steam coming out. So it's really fun. This is a geyser that is on a schedule as well. So we can predict when this will erupt with a pretty good track record. So you can come to this area and plan your time so that you can catch the eruption of Castle Geyser. Okay, so looking at the map, Castle Geyser is located in the Upper Geyser Basin again. So while you're here at Old Faithful, take some time to go and see Castle. And if I go to this part of the map, you can see, so Old Faithful is here, and then you just take a short walk down this way and you'll find Castle Geyser right here. It's really easy to get to. It's not too far from Old Faithful. You'll just leave your car parked and you can just walk right over there. In fact, it was really funny the last time we were at Old Faithful. We were sitting on the benches with a whole bunch of people waiting for Old Faithful to erupt. And it was taking a little bit longer. It had kind of exceeded its eruption window. But as we were sitting there waiting for Old Faithful and getting excited about Old Faithful, Castle Geyser actually erupted. And you can see Castle Geyser from Old Faithful. And so everybody's like looking around going, what geyser is that? What are we missing? It was really funny because you could see Castle Geyser really well from Old Faithful, but people were super confused as to what geyser that actually was. So yes, that's Castle Geyser. You can see it from Old Faithful if it's erupting. A lot of times as you're walking around Geyser Hill or the Old Faithful area, there's a ton of boardwalks you can walk in this area. But a lot of times as you're walking, you will see a good amount of steam coming out of Castle Geyser. It's really fun. So even if this geyser isn't actually set for eruption, and if you're not able to catch the actual eruption, a lot of times there is still something going on here and steam will be coming out. It will be spewing a little bit. So it's really fun to stop here and see what you can see. Castle Geyser erupts to about 75 feet, so it is about half the height of Old Faithful. But again, the geyser shape and all the steam and everything makes it really fun to see. I mentioned that Castle Geyser is on a schedule. They do predict when this geyser will erupt. It's every about 13 and a half hours and plus or minus 45 minutes. So it is a pretty good window of time. It's definitely not as often as Old Faithful. So when you get to Yellowstone, or I'll show you how to check these geyser times here in a minute, but when you check that time, it will give you a time like 10:30 a.m. and then it will say plus or minus 45 minutes. So that means it could erupt as early as 9:45 or as late as 11:15. So you do have a really big window there that you'll need to sit and wait to see an eruption of Castle. What's great about this eruption though is that it typically lasts about 15 to 20 minutes. And again, even if you're not able to catch a major eruption, it does have frequent minor eruptions. And so you can walk by there at almost any time and hopefully see something. Okay, for the third geyser you don't want to miss, this is Grand Geyser. Grand Geyser is probably my favorite geyser in the park if I had to choose one. So this is definitely one that if you can make time for and you do visit within its eruption window, definitely try to see this one. Grand Geyser is located in the Upper Geyser Basin with Old Faithful and Castle Geyser. So again, this area is just phenomenal. There are so many cool things that you can see. But so you'll see Old Faithful over here, you've got Castle right here, and then you just take the boardwalk up here across the river to get to Grand. What I love about Grand Geyser is it really is so grand. It erupts in big giant spurts and it goes really high and there's just a lot of power there. It's so fun to watch. It's noisy, it's high, it's just so dramatic. I favor this one over pretty much any other geyser in Yellowstone. Grand Geyser erupts typically around 160 feet, sometimes higher. It just depends on how much pressure is there. So again, in comparison, Old Faithful typically hovers around 130 feet or so. So Grand Geyser is taller. It just feels very grand. And so it's a really fun one to see. Another cool thing about it is that it does typically erupt longer than Old Faithful. You're looking at around 8 to 12 minutes. And so you do get a really great show. What I also love about this one is by the way that it erupts, there are some pools of water that kind of sit stagnant before it erupts. While it's erupting, you can actually watch those pools of water drain and they get dry as that water is shot into the sky. So it's really fun to watch. You get kind of a close-up look at the plumbing that is underneath this geyser. Grand Geyser is another one of those geysers that is on a schedule. We're so lucky. So this one erupts about every 6.5 hours, plus or minus 60 minutes. So again, like Castle Geyser, it's a pretty wide time frame, when you're waiting to see this erupt. So if you see the geyser prediction, it's supposed to go off at 10:30 a.m., then it will say plus or minus 60 minutes. So it could be any time between 9:30 and 11:30. So keep that in mind. It is a big window, makes it a little bit difficult to see, especially if you have younger kids who just don't want to sit that long. But we love watching Grand Geysers, so the wait is worth it. Okay, so for number 4 and number 5 on my list, we are venturing into the land of unpredictability. So these geysers do not follow a schedule. They're much harder to see, but I definitely wanted to mention it just because if you're in the area, it's definitely worth sticking around for a minute and crossing your fingers that you'll be able to see one of these geysers erupt. So number 4 is Beehive Geyser. And Beehive Geyser is also located in the Upper Geyser Basin. So looking at the map, again, we're in this Old Faithful area, and basically you can see it from a couple different spots. There is a viewpoint down here along the way to Castle Geyser. There's like a side trail that will take you closer, and it can be a little bit hard. You can still see Beehive Geyser. It's a massive geyser, but you're not too close. If you want to be closer, then you actually need to go across the river over here to this side. And Beehive Geyser isn't marked on here, but to this side of the river, and then you'll see, and they do have signs saying Beehive Geyser on this side, so you'll be able to see it, but it is on this side of the river. What is so cool about Beehive Geyser is that it's known as a cone geyser, and cone geysers that pressure is actually even more pressurized because there's an actual cone that directs the water more pressurized as it's coming out. And so with this one, it sounds like a jet engine. It's just like such a massive amount of pressure coming out. It is so loud, and the water shoots really high because it's just constricted where it's coming out, and so it's shooting with a lot of pressure and noise. So I love seeing this one. We've been lucky enough to see it erupt 3 different times. You can tell how much time I spend in Yellowstone because this geyser is not on a schedule. But what's cool about it is that there is a little indicator geyser. It's really small right next to Beehive Geyser. And this indicator geyser will start to spew water. And the rangers at Old Faithful are watching this indicator geyser. And as soon as they see the water start coming out of here, then that's when they know that Beehive Geyser is about to erupt. And so they will make an announcement over the speaker system at Old Faithful saying, Beehive Geyser is going to erupt in the next 5 minutes. So if you want to see it, head over there. And we've been really lucky that way, just hanging out in the Old Faithful area and then being able to run over to Beehive Geyser and see it up close. Last time we saw Beehive Geyser, we were on that side of the boardwalk. We were on the side that's really close to it, on the other side of the river. And we actually got massively drenched by Beehive. The water wasn't hot. It was actually, it had cooled down by the time it hit us. But that was an unforgettable experience. My kids still talk about that. So again, just another reason to hang around the Old Faithful area a little bit longer, walk around the boardwalk, see what you can see. You'll definitely see some smaller geysers that are not on a schedule and that are just, having fun and erupting at will. But you might catch a bigger one that's also not on a schedule, like Beehive. The Beehive Geyser does get to 150 feet or higher, so it's a big one. It shoots really high. The eruption typically lasts about 5 minutes, so it puts on a really good show. And again, its eruption schedule is varied. It can be anywhere from like every day or so to up to 2 weeks in between eruptions. So you can't guarantee you're going to see this one, but definitely stick around and hopefully you will. For the 5th geyser that you definitely want to try to see while you're in Yellowstone, it's Steamboat Geyser. And Steamboat Geyser is the tallest active geyser in the world. So try your luck. Hopefully you'll be able to see this one while you're here. Steamboat Geyser is not located down in this Old Faithful area. It is actually up here at the Norris Geyser Basin, which is right here. And so you'll park here and walk over to this Norris Geyser Basin. Norris is the hottest and oldest part of Yellowstone, and so you'll immediately notice a difference when you get here versus when you've been spending time at the Upper Geyser Basin. The colors are different, things look different. There's just like a ton of steam. You can tell that it's hotter. It does look a lot different than the Upper Geyser Basin. So it's definitely worth a stop just in and of itself, but this area also contains Steamboat Geyser. When you get to Norris, you'll want to walk on the back basin trail just for a minute, and that will take you out to Steamboat Geyser. But I do recommend walking the Porcelain Basin and seeing some of the other areas of Norris. What's really cool about this part is that pretty much everything is above boiling. So all the water is just really, really hot. And almost everything is extremely acidic. And so you'll notice even when you get to the parking lot for Norris, it says, you're parking here at your own risk because if Steamboat Geyser erupts, it shoots acidic water with tons of debris into the air and it can actually damage your car. And so that's how cool and crazy this area is and this geyser is. And so you will want to keep that in mind, but hopefully you will get to see an eruption while you're there. I myself have not been lucky enough to see an eruption of Steamboat, not for lack of trying. We stopped there Every single time we're in Yellowstone, we hang out there for a few hours, just crossing our fingers that today will be the day, but no luck. So I have not actually seen a full eruption of Steamboat. What's nice though is if you go to Steamboat, and even if it doesn't erupt, most of the time it is steaming in some way, and so you'll still be able to see something while you're there, and it's fun just to be there and to see all the damage and destruction that is caused in the nearby area when it erupts. Steamboat shoots 300 feet, sometimes even higher, but on average it's about 300 feet, which if you'll remember, Old Faithful is about 130 feet. So it is massive. It's a huge eruption. Again, this is the world's tallest active geyser. And so if you're lucky enough to see it, you will just see a massive explosion of water while you're here. This geyser, unfortunately, is very unpredictable. It's gone even stretches of like 50 years between eruptions. Over the last few years, it has erupted more and more with closer to about 50 times per year. But there's just no way to know. If you're lucky enough to be there when it does, then great. If you're not, there's nothing you could have done. So this geyser is very unpredictable. It does erupt in its water phase for about 40 minutes, so that's quite long. If it does erupt, hopefully you'll have time to get over there and see it. But it also stays in its steam phase, which is just massive and massive amounts of steam coming out for up to several days. And so if you're lucky enough to be here when it erupts, you do have some time to get over there and hopefully catch the eruption. Good luck. I hope that you're able to see it. I'm going to keep trying. I will never give up until I actually see it in person. Okay, I just wanted to mention a couple more places where you might want to go to see some geysers. So looking at the map of Yellowstone, you can come down here, Lone Star Geyser. This one's about every 3 hours. It's not on a set schedule, but it is pretty predictable. You've got a bunch of little ones over in here at the Upper Geyser Basin area. The Lower Geyser Basin area by the Fountain Paint Pot, we have had great luck seeing smaller geysers here. Last time we were there, we saw 3 at the same time, right next to each other. This Firehole Lake Drive has the Great Fountain Geyser, which is a predicted geyser, so that's a good one. And I forgot to mention, there are a couple more predicted geysers down in the Upper Geyser Basin. So you could also see Daisy Geyser or Riverside Geyser. Those are both on prediction schedules as well. Okay, so let me show you how to figure out what time these geysers are going to erupt. So I'm here on the Yellowstone website, and I will link this into the video description so you have this website. But basically, if you scroll down right here, then it says geyser predictions are available from these sources. So you do have a couple different options here. You can click over to the Twitter feed at Geyser NPS, and that will show Old Faithful eruptions. And so that will tell you the next time that Old Faithful is going to erupt. You can use the NPS Yellowstone app, so you can get that, and that will show you those geyser times as well. I've found that the app can be a little unreliable. It's a little bit hard sometimes to get that to work, and so that's not usually my first option. But if it's working, it's great. You can call them and just listen to a recorded message with the prediction times. But really the easiest way, the way that I like to do it, is to do this last option. This is the Geyser Times website. So I'm going to click over there, and you'll get taken to this screen. It's kind of a funky looking screen. This has a whole bunch of different geysers, not even the ones that are predicted. So you'll see in here we've got like a Sawmill, Little Cub. Like these are ones that aren't on a schedule. The ones that are on a schedule, Castle, Daisy, Grand, you'll see those in there as well. But the easiest way, the way that I like to do it, is to come up here to this predictions tab, and then it will bring you to these 6 that the park makes predictions for. And so you can see actually right now, this is an awesome time. You could potentially see Old Faithful, Daisy, and Riverside right now that you're within that window. And so this is pretty cool. Sometimes there's no current prediction. It's currently winter time, and so a lot of times they don't predict these during the winter. But then you can also see, if you want to see Grand Geyser today, if you show up between these times, then that's when Grand Geyser is going to erupt. So that's pretty cool. This is the way that I like to do it for the day of. You can also come down, and if you don't want to look at the graph, you can see what time frame you're looking at. So again, this is 3:58 plus or minus an hour. So anytime from 2:58 to 4:58, which is what it shows right here. So it's just a different way to see the information. You'll notice that there is no way to move this forward. So this is just a day of, you can't plan in advance for being able to get to these, except for really the day of, because they base their next prediction off of the last eruption. And so once these erupt, then they will have a new prediction time for those going forward for the next one. So you really can't plan in advance. It's just one of those things, as it gets closer to the time. Sometimes if I'm wanting to see like castle geysers every 13 and a half hours, basically, I can kind of do the math in my mind. Because it is a larger length of time, it's easier to say, okay, I'm going to be in Yellowstone in 2 days and the last eruption was at this time. And so I can kind of count it forward. But with some of these smaller ones, it's just really hard to do that. And so you'll just want to jump on here when you get to Yellowstone and see what you might be able to see during the time that you'll be there. I hope that you have a great time in Yellowstone. I hope that you're able to see some of these geysers explode. That's what makes Yellowstone so cool. So taking the time to do this is well worth it. And I hope that you just have a fabulous time in Yellowstone National Park.